A myth from Hawaii weaves a tale of fire, loyalty, and betrayal centered around the volcanic goddess Pele and her sister, Hiiaka. As Pele's fiery ambition leads her to conflict with her sea goddess sister Na-maka and sparks a journey across the Hawaiian Islands, Hiiaka is called upon to undertake a dangerous mission. Tasked with retrieving the soul of Prince Lohiau from death itself, Hiiaka's journey tests her courage, loyalty, and the bonds that bind her to both family and the gods. Full of mythical encounters and fierce challenges, this story reveals the intricate power dynamics and emotional depth of Hawaiian mythology. Chapter 1. Pele in the bosom of her family. Once, when Pele was living in the pit of Kilauea, she roused up from her couch on the rough hearth plate and said to her sisters, "Let us make an excursion to the ocean and enjoy ourselves. Open the opihi shells and sea urchins, hunt for small squid and gather sea moss." To this all joyfully assented, saying, "Yes, let us go." The sisters formed quite a procession as they tramped the narrow downhill path until they came to the hill Pupoho, a place in the lower lands of Puna. Pele herself did not visibly accompany them on this journey. That was not according to her custom. She had other ways and means of travel than to plod along a dusty road. When, however, the party arrived at the rendezvous, there, sure enough, they found Pele awaiting them, ready for the business in hand. In the midst of their pleasurings, Pele caught sight of Hopo and Hana as they were indulging in an alfresco dance and having a good time by the Puna Sea. She was greatly pleased and turning to her sisters said, "Come, haven't you also got some dance that you can show off in return for this entertainment by Hopo and her companion?" They all hung their heads and said, "We have no hula." Hiiaka, the youngest, had stayed behind to gather lower flowers, and when she came along laden with wreaths, Pele said to her jestingly, "I've just been proposing to your sisters here to dance a hula in response to that of Hopo and her fellow, but they decline, saying they have not the art. I suppose it's of no use to ask you, you are so small, but perhaps you've got a bit of a song." "Yes, I have a song," Hiiaka answered, to the surprise of all. "Let us have it then, go on," said Pele. Then the little girl, having first decorated all of her sisters with the wreaths, beginning with Pele, sang as follows. "Keha la puna I ka makani, ha ka ulu halai keau, ha haena me hopoi, ha ka wahine ami kai o nanahuki la. Hula lea wale, I kai o nanahuki e." Translation: Puna's a dance in the breeze, the hala groves of Kiao shaken, Hana and Hopo are swaying, the thighs of the dancing nymph quiver and sway down at Nanahuki, a dance most sightly and pleasing, down by the sea Nanahuki. Pele was delighted. "Is that all you have?" she asked. "I have something more," said the girl. "Let us hear it then." Hiiaka put even more spirit into the song as she complied. "O puna kai Kuai-he-lani, kai ka leo ke kai, ke lula ina pua lehua. Nanai kai o hopoe, ka wahine ami kai, o nanahuki la, hula lea wale, I kai o nanahuki." Translation: The voice of Puna Sea resounds through the echoing hala groves. The laua trees cast their bloom. Look at the dancing girl Hopo. Her graceful hips swing to and fro, a dance on the beach Nanahuki, a dance that is full of delight down by the sea Nanahuki. At the conclusion of this innocent performance, the earliest mention of the hula that has reached us, Hiiaka went to stay with her friend Hopo, a person whose charm of character had fascinated the imagination of the susceptible girl and who had already become her dearest intimate, her inspiring mentor in those sister arts, song, posy, and the dance. Pele herself remained with her sister Hiiaka in Kapua Enaina, Hiiaka of the fire bloom, and presently she lay down to sleep in a cave on a smooth plate of pahoho. Before she slept, she gave her sister this command: "Listen to me. I'm lying down to sleep. When the others return from fishing, eat of the fish, but don't dare to wake me. Let me sleep on until I wake of myself. If one of you wakes me, it will be the death of you all. If you must needs wake me, however, call my little sister and let her be the one to rouse me. Or, if not her, let it be my brother Ke-o-wahi-maka-o-ka-ua, one of these two. When Ke-o-wahi-maka-o-ka-ua, who was so closely related to Pele that she called him brother, had received this command and had seen her lapse into profound sleep, he went and reported the matter to Hiiaka, retailing all that Pele had said. Strange that this havoc producer should sleep in this way, and no bedfellow, said Hiiaka to herself. Here are all the other Hiiakas, all of equal rank and merit. Perhaps it was because my dancing pleased her that she wishes me to be the one to rouse her. The cavern in the hill Pahoho, in which Pele lay and slept, wrapped in her robe, Kapa-ahu, remains to this day. In her sleep, Pele heard the far-off beating of hula drums, and her spirit body pursued the sound. At first it seemed to come from some point far out to sea, but as she followed, it shifted, moving to the north, till it seemed to be off the beach of Waiakea. In Hilo, thence it moved till it was opposite Laupahoho. Still evading her pursuit, the sound retreated till it came from the boisterous ocean that beats against the shaggy cliffs of Hamakua. Still going north, it seemed presently to have reached the mid-channel of Eanuihaha that tosses between Hawaii and Maui. If you are from my far-off homeland Kahiki, I will follow you thither, but I will come up with you, said Pele. To her detective ear, as she flitted across the heaving waters of Alinuihaha, the pulsing of the drums now located itself at the famous Hill Kawiki in Hana. But on reaching that place, the music had passed on to the west and sounded from the cliffs of Kahakuloa. The fugitive music led her next across another channel, until in her flight she had traversed the length of Molokai and had come to the western point of that island, Leo-o-ka-lau. Then she flew to Cape Makapu'u on Oahu, and so on until after crossing that island she reached Cape Kina, whose finger point reaches out towards Kauai. In that desolate spot dwelt an aged creature of myth, Pohaku-o-Kauai by name, the personal representative of that rock, whose body form the hero Maui had jerked from its ocean bed ages before. In his futile attempt to draw together the two islands Kauai and Oahu and unite them into one mass, Pele, arguing from her exasperation, said, "It must be my old grandfather Pohaku-o-Kauai who is playing this trick with the music. If it's he that's leading me this chase, I'll kill him." The old fellow saw her approach and, hailing her from a distance, greeted her most heartily. Her answer was in a surly mood. "Come here, I'm going to kill you today. So it's you that's been fooling me with deceitful music, leading me a wearisome chase." "Not I, I've not done this. There they are out to sea, you can hear for yourself." And sure enough, on listening, one could hear the throbbing of the music in the offing. Pele acknowledged her mistake and continued her pursuit, with the parting assurance to the old soul that if he had been the guilty one, it would have been his last day of life. The real authors of this elusive musical performance were two little creatures named Kani-kawi and Kani-kawa, the former a sprite that was embodied in the nose flute, the latter in the hokio, a kind of whistle. Both of them used as accompaniments to the hula. Their sly purpose was to lure Pele to a place where the hula was being performed. Pele now plunged into the water. From this point at least she swam, and, guided by the call of the music, directed her course to the little village of Haina that perched like a gull on the cape of the same name at the northernmost point of the island of Kauai. It was but a few steps to the hall of the hula, the halau, where throbbed the hula drums and where was a concourse of people gathered from the whole island. Pele meets and fascinates Lohaiao. As Pele drew near to the rustic hall where the hula was in full blast, the people in the outskirts of the assembly turned to look in wonder and admiration at the beauty and charm of the stranger who had appeared so unexpectedly and whose person exhaled such a fragrance, as if she had been clad with sweet-scented garlands of mali, lehua, and hala. One and all declared her to be the most beautiful woman they had ever looked upon. Where was she from? Surely not from Kauai. Such loveliness could not have remained hidden in any nook or corner of the island, they declared. Instinctively, the wondering multitude parted and offered a lane for her to pass through and enter the halau, thus granting to Pele a full view of the musicians and performers of the hula, and sitting in their midst, Lohiau, as yet seemingly unconscious of her presence. On his either hand, a fellow drummer, while flanking these to right and left, sat players with a joint of bamboo in either hand, the keikik. But drummer and keikik player, musicians and actors, I, the whole audience, became petrified and silent at the sight of Pele as she advanced step by step, her eyes fixed on Lohiau. Then, with intensified look, as if summoning to her aid the godlike gifts that were hers as the mistress of Kilauea, she reached out her hand and, in a clear tone, with a mastery that held the listeners spellbound, she chanted, Lulu hanalei kaua nui, kau mahai ka noe alakai, ika hele ua o manua kepa, woiku ika loa o koialana, ai ka alakai a akamalihini e mahina au. Mai pala hai Yahweh, imi wale ana o kahi o keola nei, tight pressed is Hanalei's throne. A tree bent down by heavy rain, weighted with drops from the clouds. When rain columns sweep through Manua Kepa, this throng that has lured on the stranger, nigh to downfall was I, laid flat by your trick, I yours. My quest was for comfort and life, just for comfort and life. The silence became oppressive. In the stillness that followed the song, expectant eyes were focused upon Prince Lohiau, awaiting his reply to the address of the stranger who stood in their midst. No one knew who she was. No one imagined her to be Pele. That she was a person of distinction and rank was evident enough, one whom it was the duty and rare privilege of their chief to receive and entertain. Presently there was wrinkling of foreheads, an exchange of glances prompting winks and nods, inclinations of the head, a turning of the eyes, though not a word was spoken, for his friends thought thus to rouse Lohiau from his daze and to prompt him to the dutiful rites of hospitality and gallantry. Paua, his intimate friend, sitting at Lohiau's right hand, with a drum between his knees, even ventured to nudge him in the side. The silence was broken by Pele. Kalakuhilo ikawa nui, kapukenu ke ika pua oka leo, ika hamahamau hamau kako, ika hawana wana, aike kunumaka, aika awihimaka, aika alawa iki, aya hoi a kuhoa hoi ei. Translation: bristling, frumpy sits Hilo, drenched by the pouring rain, forbidden to murmur, or put forth a sound, or make utterance by speech, must all remain breathless, nor heave an audible sigh, withholding the nod, the wink, and the glance to one side. I pray you behold me now. Here stand I, your guest, your companion, your mate. Lohiau, once roused from his ecstasy, rose to the occasion and with the utmost gallantry and politeness invited Pele to sit with him and partake of the hospitalities of the halau. When Pele had seated herself on the mat-piled dais, Lohiau, following the etiquette of the country, asked when she came. I am of Kauai, she answered. There is no woman of Kauai your equal in beauty, said Lohiau. I am the chief, and I know, for I visit every part of the whole island. You have doubtless traveled about the whole island, answered Pele. Yet there remain places you are not acquainted with, and that is where I come from. No, you are not of Kauai. Where are you from? Because of his importunity, Pele answered him, I am from Puna, from the land of the sunrise, from Ha'eha, the eastern gate of the sun. Lohiau begged that they spread the tables for a feast, and he invited Pele to sit with him and partake of the food. But Pele refused food, saying, I have eaten. How can that be? Said he. Seeing you have but now come from a long journey, you had better sit down and eat. Pele sat with him, but she persistently declined all his offers of food. I am not hungry. Lohiau sat at the feast, but he could not eat. His mind was disturbed. His eyes were upon the woman at his side. When they rose from the table, he led her, not unwilling, to his house, and he lay down upon a couch by her side. But she would favor him only with kisses. In his growing passion for her, he forgot his need of food, his fondness for the hula, the obligations that rested upon him as a host. All these were driven from his head. All that night and the following day and another night, and for 3 days and 3 nights, he lay at her side, struggling with her, striving to overcome her resistance. But she would grant him only kisses. And on the 3rd night, as it came towards morning, Pele said to Lohiau, "I am about to return to my place, to Puna, the land of the sunrise. You shall stay here. I will prepare a habitation for us, and when all is ready, I will send and fetch you to myself. If it is a man who comes, you must not go with him, but if a woman, you are to go with the woman. Then for 5 days and 5 nights, you and I will take our fill of pleasure. After that, you will be free to go with another woman." In his madness, Lohiau put forth his best efforts to overcome Pele's resistance, but she would not permit him. "When we meet on Hawaii, you shall enjoy me to your fill," said she. He struggled with her, but she foiled him and bit him in the hand to the quick, and he grasped the wound with the other hand to staunch the pain. And he, in turn, in the fierceness of his passion, planted his teeth in her body. At this, Pele fluttered forth from the house, plunged into the ocean, and was gone. Lohiau comes to himself. His death, the threat of power. When Lohiau came to himself as from a dream, he looked for the woman who had lain at his side, but her place was vacant and cold. He went out into the open air, but she was nowhere to be found, and he turned back into the empty house. Lohiau's stay with Pele in the sleeping house had prolonged itself beyond all reason, and his friends became concerned about him. And as night after night and day after day passed, and they neither saw nor heard anything of him, their concern grew into alarm. Yet no one dared enter the house. Lohiau's sister, however, made it her business to investigate. Opening the door of the house, she entered, and lo, there hung the body of her brother, suspended from a rafter, his malo about his neck. Life had been gone for many hours, and the body was cold. Her screams brought to her aid a group of Lohiau's friends, who at once lifted their voices in unison with hers, bewailing their chief's death and denouncing the woman who had been with him as the guilty cause. Power was the most outspoken in his imprecations. Stripping off his malo, he stood forth in the garb of nature and declared he would not resume his loincloth until he had sought out the woman and humiliated her by the grossest of insults. "I will not gird my loins with a malo until I have kindled a fire in Pele's face, pounded her face as one pounds a taro, consumed her very eyes." This was the savage oath with which Power pledged his determination to avenge the death of his friend, his chief Lohiau, with universal wailing, amid the waving of kahilis, with tender care and the observance of all due rites. His people anointed the dear body of their chief with perfumed oil, wrapped it in scented robes of choicest tapa, and laid it to rest in the sepulchre. The favorite dog of Lohiau, who was greatly attached to his master, took his station at the grave and would not be persuaded to leave. Pohakao, a cousin of Pele, himself a kupua and possessed of superhuman powers, having journeyed from Hawaii to Hana, found the faithful creature keeping his lonely vigil at the grave, and he brought the dog with him to Pele. "Your man is dead, Lohiau is dead," said he. "But this animal, do you recognize him? I found watching by the grave in Hana." "Yes, that is the dog I saw with Lohiau," answered Pele, and she hid the dog away in her secret place. Pele awakes from her sleep. While the scene we have described was being enacted on Kauai, the spirit of Pele, returning from its long flight, hovered over the sleeping body at Laupahoho. Above it waved the kahilis. About it were gathered the sisters and other relatives, quietly sobbing. Though it was many days since Pele had lain down to sleep, and though they feared the consequences if she continued thus, they dared not disturb her. When that was proposed, the sister in charge objected. If it must be done, we shall have to send for Hiiaka the beloved. Some of them suggested that Pele must be dead. She had remained so long without motion. But Hiiaka of the lightning flash scouted the idea. How can that be? The body shows no signs of decay. The girl Hiiaka saw the messenger that had been dispatched to fetch her, while as yet she was in the dim distance. It was her nurse, Palai, and there came to her a premonition of what it all meant, a vision, a picture of the trouble that was to come, yet overmastering her was a feeling of affection and loyalty for her elder sister. Standing outside the house that she might better watch the approach of Pa'opale and be on hand to greet her, she voiced her vision in song. Akalayo hayahi papalawahi. Ika imulei lehua okua okala. Lehua makano ike ahi. Awela wela la wela ike ahi au. Akawahin makalua. Translation. From the forest tongue at Papalau Ahi to the garlands heaped at back of the sun, the beauteous lewas are wilted, scorched, burnt up, eye burnt, consumed by the fire of the woman, the fire that flows from the pit. As the messenger, in the vibrating sunlight, threaded her way among the tree clumps and lava knobs which now concealed her and now brought her into full view, Hiiaka, with gaze intent to gain such snapshots of her as these obstructions did not forbid, continued her song. Nukalua pahaya makani o kapulana, ke hali ike alalau. Honi wai ke kini ikai o haena. Haena aloha ke kau ne kahaili moe. Kau kahaili moe ike ahiehi. Hele ko kakahiaka. Manao hele pahau e. Homai kai hua hele a au. Aloha we anohoi ho. Translation. From the pit, doubtless breathes Pulena, with its waft of woodland perfume, a perfume drunk in with rapture, on the beach of beloved Haina. There wafts to me this premonition, this vision and dream of the night. I must be gone in the morning. I foresee I must travel tomorrow. A farewell kiss ere I journey. Farewell, alas, to thee who remainest. Her hostess, Hopo, would not take the song or the farewell of Hiiaka seriously. You are simply joking, she said, letting your gloomy imagination run away with you. Who in the world is driving you away as if you had worn out your welcome? The messenger, Pa'opalai, when she had saluted Hiiaka, said, I come from your sisters. They want to see you. Arrived at Laupahoho, Hiiaka found her sisters in great consternation, fearing for the life of Pele if she were allowed to continue her long sleep. Her spirit, it is true, had come back to her body, but it was merely hovering about and had not entered and taken possession, so that there were no signs of animation or life. It seemed to be waiting for the voice of Hiiaka, the beloved, to summon it back and to make it resume consciousness. Hiiaka demanded to know the cause of the wailing. We are lamenting our sister, the head of the family. You can see for yourself she is dead. After carefully examining the body of Pele, Hiiaka stoutly declared she is not dead. That is evident from the absence of corruption. Then, sitting close to Pele's feet, she sang, O ko ia aku oe, o ka hanana ke akua, ikai o makawai ke kike la ka pohaku, wa he kai a ke kua, he akua he kanaka. He kanaka no, translation. Content you now with your God work. Down by the sea at Makawai, the rocks have smitten together. The sea has opened a channel. Goddess you were, now human, return to your human clay. Pele slept on and gave no sign of waking. Hiiaka then chanted this serenade. Iala, iala, iala. Ala ehika pokua kini ela. Ehika pokua mano. Ela ke akua. E ke alo ela I ka uvila nui. Maka-e-ha-i-ka-lani la, ya la. Translation. Awake now, awake, awake. Wake, goddess of multiple God power. Wake, goddess of essence most godlike. Wake, queen of the lightning shaft. the piercing fourth eye of heaven. Awake, I pray thee, awake. The effect was magical. Pele's bosom heaved. Breath entered her lungs. A fresh color came to her face and spread to the tips of her ears. She sighed, stretched herself, and sat up. She was herself again. Oneness Lapahoho is to be distinguished from that in Hilo. Pele makes a proposition to her sisters. That same day, Pele and the other sisters returned to Kilauea, while Hiiaka went back to resume her visit with Hopo, each party reaching its destination at about the same time. Early the next morning, Pele called to her sister Hiiaka-i-ka-ili, Hiiaka of the Choppy Sea, and said, "I want you to go on an errand for me. No doubt I shall agree to go when you have told me what it is," was the answer of the young woman. "You are to journey to Kauai and escort hither our lover, yours and mine. While on the way you are not to lie with him, you are not to touch noses with him, you are not to fondle him or snuggle close to him. If you do any such thing, I will kill both of you. After your return for 5 days and 5 nights, I will have him to myself, and after that he shall be your lover." On hearing this, the young woman hung her head and wept. Pele then made the same proposal to each of the other sisters in turn. Not one of them would consent to undertake the mission. They knew full well the perils of the undertaking. The way was beset with swarms of demons and dragons, with beings possessed with powers of enchantment, and Pele did not offer to endow them with the power that would safeguard them on their journey. Pele, finding herself foiled on this tack as a diversion, said, "Let us refresh ourselves and have some luau." The sisters immediately set to work, and when they had made up the bundles of delicate taro leaves and were about to lay them upon the fire, Pele called to Pau-o-Palai and bade her go straightway to Hina and fetch Hiiaka. "And you are to be back here by the time the luau is cooked." Now the girl, whose full name was Hiiaka Inkapolio Pele, was the youngest of the sisters, and by reason of her loveliness and accommodating disposition, she was Pele's favorite. She was, moreover, gifted with a quick intuition and a clairvoyant perception of distant happenings and coming events. At the time of the conversation between Pele and the 7 sisters, Hiiaka was sporting in the ocean with her surfboard in the company of Hopo. While thus engaged, the whole matter of the proposed journey to Hina came to her as in a vision. In the midst of her surfing, she turned to Hopo and said, "I perceive that I am about to undertake a long journey, and during my absence you will remain here in Puna, waiting my return?" "No, what put such a notion into your head?" said Hopo. "Yes, I must go," insisted Hiiaka. Then they mounted a roller, and as their boards touched the beach, there stood the messenger of Pele, and this was the message: "Gird on your pau and come with me to Kilauea. Your sister commands it." As the two jogged on their uphill way, an impulse seized Hiiaka, and she gave voice to a premonition, a shadow of coming trouble, as it were, and, standing in the road at Mokaulele, she sang, "Hewa kui lehua ko panaewa. Hewa makai kui hala ko puna e aloha e aloha wale kola e na maui moe o male." Translation: Panaewa's rain beats down the lehuas. A rain by the sea smites the halas of Puna. My love, my pity go out to Koloa, her fair, wilted herbs at Malay. Hiiaka, true poet that she was, and alive to every colorful aspect of nature as she trudged on her way, came upon a sight that touched her imagination. 2 birds were sipping together in loving content of the water that had collected in the crotch of a tree, in which also was growing an ababua plant. Such nature-planted awa was famed as being the most toxic of any produced in Puna. Her poetic mind found in the incident something that was in harmony with her own mood, and she wove it into a song. O kamanu muki muki, alelewa akamanu, o ka awa ililena, ika uka o kaliu, o kamanu hai lau awa o Puna. Aya ika lau ka waona o Puna hoi I. Translation: O bird that sips with delight the nectar bloom of lewa, tasting the yellow-barked awa that climbs in Kalu's uplands. O bird that brews from this leafage Puna's bittersweet awa draught, Puna's potentest awa grows. aloft in the crotch of a tree. Most potent is Awa of Puna. Chapter 6. Hiiaka consents to Pele's proposition. Hiiaka arrived at the pit in good time to partake with the others of the frugal feast ordered by Pele. At its conclusion, Pele turned to the girl Hiiaka and put the question in her blunt way. Will you be my messenger to fetch our lover, yours and mine, from Kauai? Your sisters here, she glanced severely about the group, have refused to go. Will you do this for me? The little maid, true to her sense of loyalty to the woman who was her older sister, the head of the family and her ally, to the surprise and dismay of her other sisters, answered, Yes, I will go and bring the man. It was a shock to their sense of fitness that one so young should be sent on an errand of such danger and magnitude. But more, it was a reproof that slapped them in the face to have this little chit accept, without hesitation, a commission which they had shrunk from through lack of courage. But they dared not say a word. They could but scowl and roll the eye and shrug the shoulder. When you have brought our lover here, continued Pele, for 5 nights and 5 days he shall be mine. After that, the taboo shall be off, and he shall be yours. But while on the way you must not kiss him, nor fondle him, nor touch him. If you do, it will be the death of you both. In spite of the gestured remonstrances of the group, Hiiaka, in utter self-forgetfulness and diplomatic inexperience, agreed to Pele's proposition, and she framed her assent in a form of speech that had in it the flavor of a sacrament. Kukuluka makia kahuaka hele moa ipo. Kuau hele nohoe. E noho ana na lehua lulu. Kuma kulehua yuka o kaliu e liuliu vale ka hele ana. O ka huaka'i mo ipo. Aloha mai ka ipo. Alohiau ipo ahena. Translation. Firm plant the pillar, seal of our love pact. Here stand I, begirt for this love quest. You shall abide, and with you my groves, Lohua and Hala, heavy with bloom. The journey is long and toilsome the task, to bring our fine lover to bed. Mak! A love hail from beloved Lohaiao of Hana. I am impelled by my admiration for this beautiful song to give another version of it. Kukila ke kaunu moaipo. Kuau, hele, noho oe anoho. Anoho ana ina lehua o lulu, o kapai hala moku lehua iuka o kaliu. Lulu hoi lulu wale, kahele ana o ka huakai moaipo, aloha mai ka ipo, o loheau ipo e. Translation. Fix my intent for the love quest. Here I stand to depart, you remain, and with you my bloom-clad lehas, and the palm groves that wave in Kali. Long, wearisome long shall the journey be, to find and to bring our lover, that dearest of lovers. Lohau, Hiiaka would sleep on it. Her start was to be in the morning. The next day, while Hiiaka was climbing the long ascent up the crater Pali, her sisters, anxious and appreciating the danger of the undertaking, were quietly weeping outside the cave, but they dared not utter a word that might come to the ears of Pele. They began, however, to beckon and signal to Hiiaka to return. She saw them and turned back, uttering the following plaint. E kua na aoi hele. E lau ka maka-o-ka-ha'i no. E ka poi no o lakune e. E mana ana ka ia o e hele. E hele no o e. Translation. While I stand ready for travel. You bad lot. 'Tis you that I mean. This weight of travel you lay on me. These bad ones sit with impudent stare. And so it is I that must go. The opposition of the sisters was based largely on Hiiaka's youth and inexperience. The girl did not understand nor give them credit for this generous regard for herself. She saw only their disobedience and disloyalty to Pele's command. Pele, impatient at her vacillation, broke out on her savagely. Here you are again. Be off on your journey. You shall find no food here, no meat, no raiment, no roof, no sisterly greeting, nothing until you return with the man. It would have been useless to dispatch these homely women on this errand. it seems equally useless to send a beautiful girl like you. To this outburst, Hiiaka retorted, "Ke hanai e la ka Kuai-he-lani. Makawawi ka uawai ka uka okiloi. Inado siya yala he loi loi e. I loi loi no aoe luao iwi. Loi loi iho la i. Translation: The rain doth replenish the heavens. I dread the fierce rain of upland Kiloi. Behold now this one, the fault finder. You in two shapes are hard to please. I in either shape hard to please. I am not grumbling or finding fault with you, Loloi. It was simply because you turned back that I spoke to you. Do you call that reproaching you?" Hiiaka, though a novice in diplomacy, as shown by her instant and unconditional acceptance of Pele's proposition, having once got her second breath, now exacted of Pele a condition that proved her to be, under the discipline of experience, an apt pupil in the delicate art of diplomacy. "I am going to bring our lover while you remain at home. If during my absence you go forth on one of your raids, you are welcome to ravage and consume the lands that are common to us both. But see to it that you do not consume my forests of Lehua. And again, if the fit does come upon you, and you must ravage and destroy, look to it that you harm not my friend Hopo." Pele readily agreed to Hiiaka's reasonable demand, thinking thus to hasten her departure. To the inexperienced girl, the terms of the agreement seemed now complete and satisfactory, and in the first blush of her gratification, Hiiaka gave expression to her pleasure. "Ke kau aloha wale mai la kawa e Na-maka-o-ka-ha'i kua a I ku aloha oe kalua e aloha ia o I." Translation: Kindly falls the rain from heaven. Now may I turn my back and travel. Travel girt, I bid farewell to the pit. Here's a farewell greeting to thee. Even now, Hiiaka made an ineffectual start. Some voice of human instinct whispered that something was wanting, and she again faced her sister with a request so reasonable that it could not be denied. "Ke kune o e hei, hei o a ke ala. Mihi mai I mana o hoi mai no ao, ia o la ia o I. La pohu mai la, lalo kalua, I lua mai la pono ao. O lelo ke, also known as Kahele Ho'okahi Mamina Kaleo Helio Wale no I. Translation: My foot still shy for travel. I made a misstart on my journey. I've come to repair my neglect. A need, a request brings me back to plead in thy presence once more. Joy springs up within. There's calm in the pit. Give me but a travel mate. That would content me. Who travels alone has for speech mate his shadow. Futile is speech with no answering voice, empty words, only a voice. The exigencies of the narrative have induced me, in the above song, to couple together two mele, which the storytellers have given us as belonging to two separate incidents in Hiiaka's fence with Pele. "Your request is reasonable," said Pele. "To travel alone is indeed to converse with one's shadow. You shall have a companion." Pele designated a good-natured waiting woman as her attendant, who had the poetical name of Pau-o-palae, or Pau-o-pala. This faithful creature heartily accepted the trust, that of Kahu, a servant with the pseudo-responsibility of a guardian, and having expressed her fealty to her new mistress, she at once took her station. Thus everything seemed arranged for a start on the eventful journey. The terms and conditions of Hiiaka's going were not even yet to the satisfaction of her watchful sisters and relatives. One matter of vital importance had been omitted from the outfit. Pele had not bestowed upon Hiiaka the Mana power and authority to overcome and subdue all the foes that would surely rise up to oppose and defeat her. With wild gestures, they signaled to Hiiaka once more to return. Hiiaka's answering song, though pointed with blame, gives proof that her own intuitions were not entirely at fault. "Akaluna ipuonioni, noho ke anaina ke kua. kilo hiaku maka-ilalo. Ika ulu o wahine kapu, hi oyoina kilauea. Hi nohuana o papalawahi I. Ke laoahi mala o Pele a kai o puna. Ua wana oke a kai o malama e malama I ka iki kanaka. I ka nua kanaka. O kako no ke ia huakua. Akua mo lao e. O mo lao ke ala I translation. From the crest of Tremble Hill, I look on the concourse of gods. At ease on the gossip ground, the seat of Wahine Kapu, rest station to Kilauea, its pavement of lava plate. Such plates Pele spreads in Puna. Hot shards, gray sands at Malama, succor and life for small and great. Be it ours to play the god our way, beset by demons 400. The communication between Hiiaka and her sisters had, on their part, been carried on mostly by means of gesture and sign language. But on this return of Hiiaka, the whole family of brothers and sisters was so moved at the thought of the danger to Hiiaka that they spoke out at last and frankly advised Hiiaka to go before Pele and demand of her the gift of spiritual power, mana, that she might be able to meet her enemies on equal terms at least, so that she need not feel powerless in their presence. But nothing came of this move at the time, for at this moment out came Pele from her cave, and seeing Hiiaka standing with the others, she addressed her sharply and said, "What? You still here? Why are you not on the way to fetch our man?" Face to face with Pele, Hiiaka's courage oozed away, and she promised to make another start in the morning. When on this new start she had come near the top of the ascent, she turned about and sang. Punahunahu ikalani, kawahi o kalua, helai ilalo o kilauea, maniania luna o wahine kapu. Ikapu la ikeha kaleo e. Translation: the pit smoke blankets the heavens. Clear is the air in Kilauea, tranquil Wahine Kapu's plain. The woman, why silent her voice? Hiiaka now made common cause with the group of sisters and relatives who were bent on securing for her justice and fair treatment. Among them, taking counsel together, sat Kamohoali, Kei-milohe, Kapo, and Pohakau. By this action, Hiiaka took a new attitude. While not coming out in open defiance to her sister, she virtually declared her determination no longer to be domineered over by Pele. In the council that took place, it was determined that Kamohoali, who stood high in Pele's regards and whose authority was second only to hers, was the proper one to approach Pele in the matter of conferring upon Hiiaka the necessary mana. When therefore Pele put to Hiiaka the question why she had returned, why she was not on her journey, Kamohoali spoke up and said, "It is because of fear she has returned. She sees danger, by the way. You have not given her the mana to protect her from the dragons and monsters that infest the road. Omolaukeala'i, the way is beset by dragons 400. Ah, that is the trouble," said Pele. Then she called upon the sun, the moon, the stars, wind, rain, thunder, lightning, all the heavenly powers to aid and safeguard Hiiaka, and she authorized her to exercise the powers of these heavenly beings. The gods thereupon ratified this act of Pele, and at last the way was made clear for Hiiaka's departure. Chapter 7, Hiiaka starts on her journey. The refusal of her sisters to undertake the mission to fetch Lohiau had angered Hiiaka. Her intrepid fealty to Pele, their oldest sister and their alii, laughed to scorn the perils of the journey. She could not, and for a time would not bring herself to understand their prudential attitude. Pele was their ally, and it was rank disloyalty in them to shirk any danger or to decline any command Pele might think fit to impose. In judging the conduct of her sisters, it did not at first enter the head of Hiiaka that motives of sound worldly prudence justified them in declining for themselves an errand full of danger, or in putting obstacles in the way of her going on the same errand. She saw in it only a failure to rise to the level of her own loyalty. The situation, then, was heavily charged with estrangement, And when the woman in Hiiaka could not refrain from one more farewell, the color and tone of voice and song had in them the snap of electricity. Ke kune awehele, anohowe, anoho anana wahine o lulu. E kapae mokulehua, iuka o ka liula, liuli wale ka hele ana. O ka wakai mo aipo. Aloha maka ipo. Olohi au ipo ii. Translation. Here stand I be girt for travel. You must tarry at home, and these women who sit downcast. Oh, care for my parks of Lehua, how they bloom in upland Kaliu. Long is the way and many the day before you shall come to the bed of love. But hark, the call of the lover, the voice of the lover, Lohau. At the utterance of this name, Pele brightened and called to Hiiaka, "Yes, that is the name of our man. I purposely kept it back until you should have reached the watershed, Kaupaku-o-ka-ha'i, literally the ridgepole of our house, intending then to reveal it to you, but you have divined the man's name. Now go on your journey. Nothing shall avail to block your road. Yours is the power of woman, the power of man is nothing to that." On reaching the plateau of Hiiaka, received a spiritual message telling her that Lohiau, the object of her errand, was dead. She at once turned towards Pele and commemorated the fact in song. Yaka nihia, yaka nikolea, ipu wahia, ipu manawalea, ipu alohala. He mea e ke aloha o ke kane, ke hale iho ne oe hanine e. Hey! Translation. Let us sound it aloud, far as the plover's flight, with full breath shout it, and with a full heart, big with affection. Ah, wondrous the love for a man, the feelings that strive, as these tears to rush out. I cannot repress them. Pele did not know this name song of Lohia until she heard it recited by Hiiaka. This it was that led Hiiaka to come back within easy hearing distance. Ke ua ia maila e ka ua, ke kahea maila e ka wai. Na lehua I wai ama la lilo. Lilo au palalewa. Ikayo piho noa la, mai poihu noa noa pilani. Translation. It sobs in the rain. It moans in the rushing tide. Gone is my grove of lehuas. My rubbish grove that stood. By the pilfering waters flown. He has flown like its smoke to heaven. 'Tis there I must seek him. How absurd of you, said Pele. You were not sent on an expedition to heaven, but to bring a man who is here on earth. If you fly up to heaven, you will pass him by and leave him here below. Hiiaka and her faithful companion, Pau-o-pala-e, had gotten well away from the vast pit of Kilauea, with its fringe of steam cracks and fumaroles that radiate from it like the stays of a spider web, and they were nearing the borders of Panaewa, when Hiiaka's quick ear caught the sound of a squealing pig. Her ready intuition furnished the right interpretation to this seemingly insignificant occurrence. Aloko ao Panaiwa, halawai me kapua, awahino mao. Meku makalehu ai uka. Meka maluko I kanahele, e uwe ana I kalau, alala kapua kawahine, hipua kanine, hi kanine mohai ola. Eola ia Pele. Akawahi no ka lua. Translation. In the heart of Panaewa, lehuas were heavy with bud, the dim aisles solemn with shadow. I met with a suckling pig, the pet of Wahino Mao, a wailing voice in the wilderness. 'Twas the creature wail of the thing, foredoomed as an offering. This wailing thing was a sacrifice, an appeal to Pele for life, to the woman who dwells in the pit. At this moment, a young woman of attractive person appeared on the scene and prostrating herself to the earth said, "O Pele, behold my offering, which I bring to thee in fulfillment of the pledge made by my parents, that I should first seek thee, O Pele, before I come to my marriage bed. Accept this suckling which I offer to thee, O Pele." "I am not the one you are seeking. I am not Pele," said Hiiaka. "Pele is over yonder in the pit." The woman was persistent and begged that Hiiaka would not despise her offering. After undeceiving her, Hiiaka carefully instructed her lest she make some fatal mistake in her approach to the jealous goddess. When you come to the pit, you must be careful in your approach to Pele. The least departure from the etiquette she demands would be the cause of your death. Do not imagine that the fine large woman sitting at the door is Pele, nor that any one of the women seated within is she. You must pay no attention to these. Look for the figure of a wrinkled old woman lying bundled up on the hearth, that is Pele. Make the offering to no one else but to her. Alas for me, said Wahine Oma'o, you will be gone a long way from this place by the time I shall return to seek you. I shall not be able to find you. You will find us here, replied Hiiaka assuringly. Hiiaka used her power to bring the woman at once to her destination. Following the instructions given her, Wahine Oma'o was quickly transported into the presence of Pele and, having made her offering in due form, was about to retire when Pele called her back and said, Did you not meet some women going from here as you came this way? I met some women, she answered. Make haste and come up with them, said Pele. The younger woman is very dear to me. Attach yourself to her as a friend. That I will do, said Wahine Oma'o. Then, moved by an impulse that came to her, the work, it is said, of Hiiaka, she said to Pele, I had imagined you to be a beautiful woman, Pele, but lo, you are old and wrinkled, and your eyes are red and watery. Thus saying, Wahine Oma'o took her departure and almost immediately found herself again with Hiiaka. You have made quick time, Hiiaka said. How did you get on? I followed your instructions and presented my offering to the woman who was lying on the hearth. She asked me if I had met you, and when I said yes, she told me to look after you as a friend. Is that all? She also told me to watch you, to observe how you behaved towards the man, whether you kissed him or had any dalliance with him. And did you say anything to Pele? I bantered her about her looks, told her she was a very ill-favored woman, while the women attending her were very handsome. Hiiaka laughed at this naive account. Night shut down upon them at Kuolo, a place just on the border of Pana-ewa. Pa'opalae proposed that they should seek a resting place for the night with the people of the hamlet. Hiiaka would not hear to it. Travelers should sleep in the open, in the road. In that way they can rise and resume their journey with no delay. O kapohele he pono yalaku e mo ike alanui, I alanoa hele no. The girl Papulahu, the feast. In the morning, while it was still dark, they roused and started afresh. Their way led through lehua groves of the most luxuriant growth, the bloom of which crimsons the landscape to this day, exuding a honey that is most attractive to the birds of heaven. The cool, still air wafted to their ears the hum of voices, which was soon explained when they came upon a bevy of girls who were busily plucking the bright flowers to string into wreaths and garlands, in anticipation of some entertainment. This rural scene made an appeal to the poet in Hiiaka, which she could not resist. Awai akia e kahilo hana kahi, alai kawapo iki, ikalewa leo hilo hilo. E pau kuana no kahala me kalehua. Mai kahilo o hilo hanakahi translation. Atwayakia, in hilo, the hilo of Hanakahi, they rise in the early morning to weave fresh wreaths of lehua, in beading its bloom with hala, gay halo of Hanakahi. At sight of Hiiaka's party, the lively flower girls made a rush, as if to capture and appropriate their friendly acquaintance for individual possession. The most vivacious and forward of the whole party was Papulehu, their leader, a buxom young woman of good family, who at once took possession of Hiiaka for herself, crowned and bedecked her with wreaths and garlands, with many expressions of enthusiastic admiration. This is my friend, what a beauty! How the scarlet lehua becomes her. Just look. Girls, and now you are to come and be my guest. The feast is set for this very day, but you are all welcome. The unrestrained gush of the young woman's rattling talk was quite in contrast to the selected words of Hiiaka. Now Papulehu was of a large and important family, embracing numerous friends and relations, and, having ample means, her hospitalities were unstinted. The report spread quickly. Papulehu has a distinguished guest come to visit her. There is to be a feast this afternoon. All are invited. The tables were spread with a great variety of fish, meats, fruits, and vegetables. The parents and guardians of the girl nevertheless came to her and inquired, "What is there that this young woman, your friend, would specially like to eat?" Pele took it upon her to answer that the one thing that would be most acceptable to Hiiaka would be a dish of luau. Thereupon a large quantity of young and delicate taro leaves were prepared for the table. When they were gathered at the tables, Hiiaka sitting in the place of honor, Pele, at her request, bade all the people incline their heads and close their eyes. Then Hiiaka called upon her allies, the sun, the moon, the stars, the elements, and all the gods to come to the feast and partake. And when the prayer was ended and they opened their eyes, lo, the tables spread for Hiiaka were empty. Hiiaka had not been seen to take into her hands any of the food that was spread before her. It had vanished away as a drop of water evaporates in the heat of the sun. The feast being concluded, Hiiaka rose, bade goodbye to the people, and resumed her journey, taking with her Papulehu. This girl Papulehu was of genuine flesh and blood, with no blend of divine ichor in her veins such as enriched the blood of Hiiaka. Nor had she, like Wahino Ma'o and Pa'o-Palae, been strengthened and made more resistant to spiritual and physical foes, a privilege granted to those who had enjoyed a close approach to Pele as attendants and worshippers. This weakness in her nature had its influence in determining the fate to which her history now quickly leads. Their journey still lay through Puna. They were at Kalawalau, not far from Haina, at the place where, centuries afterwards, Kamehameha was struck with that well-nigh fatal blow by an outraged fisherman. Some fishermen were hauling in their nets full of fish. The sight was too much for Papulu. "I hunger for fish," she exclaimed. "These fish belong to my father. Oh, if I only were at home, how I would eat until I was satisfied." Hiiaka thought it best to indulge the appetite of this novice in her service. From a little knoll overlooking the ocean, she described the canoe of a fisherman named Pahulu floating in the offing, but already well stocked with fish. Hiiaka used her power and drove away the school of fish that would have come to his net. The man himself was so intent on his work that he had no eyes for what was passing on shore, but his assistant exclaimed, "Look at the beautiful woman standing on the shore and watching us. I must keep my eyes on my nets," the fisherman replied. Thereupon Hiiaka attracted his attention with a song. "Nani kuaka hilo paliku oka auhula anau kalalau. Oka o alana loa ikai, Hawaiian o uka ie." Translation: A standing wonder, Hilo cliffs. How daring this kalalau swimming far out to sea on a floating plank. Pray grant us, O man, of your fish, fish for the herb-swollen rustic. This brought the two fishermen ashore, who thereupon willingly parted with some of their fish to Hiiaka, coupling the gift, however, with a proposition insulting to the honor of the two women. The fishermen, imagining they had the two women under their power, were soon after seen lying in the open, embracing two figures of stone which they, in their insane infatuation, fancied were the two women, thus exposing themselves to the jeers and derision of their fellows. Papulihu cooked and ate the fish, but her manner of eating was lacking in due punctilio, in that she did not dispose properly of the unconsumed parts, the tails, fins, bones, and scales of the fish. She should have burned or buried them. Instead, she left them lying about in a slovenly way. This neglect was highly offensive to Pele and caused her to withdraw from Papulehu the protection she otherwise would have given her. Ninth, Hiiaka chooses the route through Panaewa. Two routes offered themselves for Hiiaka's choice, a Makai road, circuitous but safe, the one ordinarily pursued by travelers, the other direct but bristling with danger, because it traversed the territory of the redoubtable witch mole Panaiwa. Hiiaka had deigned to appeal to the girl Papulehu, she being a kama'aina as if for information. When Hiiaka announced her determination to take the short road, the one of danger that struck through the heart of Panaiwa, Papulehu drew back in dismay and expostulated, That is not a fit role for us or for any but a band of warriors. If we go that way, we shall be killed." She broke forth with lamentations, bewailing her coming fate and the desolation that was about to visit her family. As they advanced, Wahino Ma'o descried a gray scarecrow object motionless in the road ahead of them. She thought it to be the blasted stump of a kukui tree. Hiiaka recognized its true character, the witch form taken as a disguise by a mo. It was a scout sent out by Panaewa, in real character a hag, but slimed with a gray excrement to give it closer resemblance to a moldering tree stump. The deceiving art of magic did not avail against Hiiaka. She rushed forward to give the death stroke to the foul thing, which at once groveled in the dirt in its true form. Night overtook them in a dense forest. While the others lay and slept, Hiiaka reconnoitered the situation. The repose of the wilderness was unbroken save for the restless flitting of a solitary bird that peered at Hiiaka obtrusively. It was a spy in the employ of Panaewa, and its actions roused the lively suspicions of Hiiaka, eliciting from her an appropriate incantation. Kawai mukiki ale lehua akamanu. Ka'awa ililena ika uka okaliu. Kamanu aha ilau awa opuna. Aya ika lau ka'awa opuna. Mapu mai kona aloha iau. Hulau mai ana iau e moe. E moe no awe. Translation. O honeydew, sit by the bird, distilled from the fragrant lehua, O yellow-barked awa that twines in the upper lands of Kaliu, O bird that brews from this leafage. Puna's bittersweet awa draft. Puna's potentest awa grows, aloft in the crotch of the trees. It wafts the seduction to sleep, that I lock my senses in sleep. It was a subtle temptation that suggested the AWA cup as a relief for her troubles. Hiiaka had need that all her faculties should give her their best service. For her to have slept at this time would have been fatal. Her song well expressed it. E nihikahele ka uka opuna. Mai ako ikapua. O lilo ike ala o ka hewa hewa. Ua huna ia ke kino i ka pohaku. O ka pua na ke ahune i ke alanui. Alanui hele o ka unu kupu kupu e. Kaulia ka unu noa nei oe o ke aloha la hele aea komo i ka hale o Pele. Ua hua hua I ka hiki lapa uila. Pele I hua ina hoi. Translation. Heed well your way in upland Puna. Pluck never a single flower, lest you stray from the path. The shape lies hid neath a stone. The path is one carpet of flowers, the blocks of stumbling overgrown. Quick follows the downfall. Is there a compact between us of love? Fly voice, assail the ear of Pele. Erupt, Kahiki with lightning flash. Now, Pele, burst forth in thy might. Panaewa entrusted the work of reconnaissance and scouting for information to two of his creatures named Kuai-he-lani and Ihikalo while he lay down and slept. Having done their work, the two scouts waked the drowsy monster in the middle of the night with the information that 4 human beings, women, had entered his domain and were coming towards him. Where are they, he asked. Out in this direction pointing, and they are moving this way. Well, this day of fasting has gone by. What a pity, however, that the poi in my calabash has turned sour, but the taro is sweet. Eyeballs! What juicy, delicious morsels! The day of privation turns out to be a day of feasting. Thus muttered the cannibal monster, gloating like Polyphemus in his cave at the prospect of a feast. Hiiaka kept her own courage at the fine point of seeming indifference. She also inspired her companions with the same feeling by the calm confidence displayed in her singing. Pau ke ahoi ke ka Hawaii lau o hilo, he lau ka pui mano ka ihona, he mano na ka Hawaii o kulaipo. He waihono li'i, he pali o kamae, he pali no kulau ka hilo pali ku. Hapali wailuku he wan ke hele ia. He wane ke hialai waio lama, he akakawia kawai Panaewa, o Panewa nui moku lehua, o hia kupu haweo I kaua. Lehua ula I kawia e kamanu, awa po, e popuna po hilo, I kawahi o ku aina, by Panaewa. Ola iakini, ke a maila ke a hi'i. Translation. One's strength is exhausted, climbing. The countless valleys and ridges of Hilo, the streams without number of Kulaipo, the mighty water of Honoli'i, the precipice walls of Kamae'e, and the pali of Ko'olau. Such a land is Hilo Paliku. The banks of Wailuku are walls, the road to its crossing but sandy the way at Waiolama. How cheery the pearl of these waters, great Panaewa, her parks of lehua, scraggy in growth yet scarlet atop, its nectar wrung out by the birds. Black night covers Puna and Hilo, a pour from the smoke of my homeland, by Panaewa. Here's food for me and mine, behold the blaze of the ovens. The last two lines are said to be the utterance of Panaewa, who feigned to regard the fires as those of his own people, who, in anticipation of an easy victory, had made ready their ovens to receive the bodies of Hiiaka and her party. Hiiaka bravely answered Panaewa, "O Panaewa, ohia loa, ohia uliuli ka ua, I mokupewa ia, e ka lao ke pakepa, a ka uka I hailila, ilihia I ka leo, Hio wale no translation. Panaewa, a tall ohia, the fruit red ripe in the rain, is vilely slashed with the stick of the mountaineer. It stands in upland hali. Terrific, the voice is terrific, yet it's merely a voice. The voice was threatening only because my servants reported that some people were trespassing. That set my tongue a-going about Poa and Taro. After all, it's a question of strength. Your valor is that must win for you a passage through this land of mine. This was Panaewa's ultimatum. Hiiaka accepted the defiance of Panaewa by chanting a solemn kahoahoa, which was at once a confident prediction of victory and an appeal to the gods. Polo akeau ikanahelehala, kua hulu Panaewa ikalau. Ino kamaha ka ohia ola e, kukepa ka maha o kalau, ua puhina ikawela ake aqua. Wawa hipuna o ka olo ka pohaku ia, I ka huna pa ia e ka wahine, nana hu ahi ka papa oe. Momoku ahi puna hala iapua, uluaka na hele me kalau, ka ke kahiko ia o papalawahi, ele kahiko e kulikawa. Ka ia hea hala o kaliu, e ne kala kamalama. Ona kakakapiko o hilo ike wan. I hula sete ia akula e hulihia ikai. Ua wawahia, ua nahaha. Ua hehela ka papa I puala I translation. Long is the reach of Kiao's palms, bristly back Panaewa's woodlands. Spoiled are the restful groves of La'a. Ragged and patchy the tree clumps. Gray their heads from the ravage of fire. A blanket of smoke covers Puna, all paved with the dump from her stone yard. The goddess's fire bites Olu Eye, one cinder heap clean to Apua, food for her oven are wildwood and brush, the finish that to Lauahi's glory. Her robe now is changed to jetty black. At the onset of Kulilikawa, Kalu's palms plucked root and branch. The sun and the moon are blotted out. Hilo is shaken to its foundation, its lands upheaved, despoiled to the sea, shattered, fissured, powdered, reduced. Its plain is ashes and dust. The battle that ensued when Panaewa sent to the attack his nondescript pack of mo'o, dragon-like anthropoids, the spawn of witchcraft, inflamed with the spite of demons, was hideous and uncanny. Tooth and claw ran amok. Flesh was torn, limbs ran apart, blood ran like water. If it had been only a battle with enemies in the open, Hiiaka would have made short work of the job. Her foes lay ambushed in every wood and brake and assumed every imaginable disguise. A withered bush, a bunch of grass, a moss-grown stone, any the most innocent object in nature, might prove to be an assailant ready to spit venom or tear with hook and talon. Hiiaka had need of every grain of wit and every spark of courage in her nature. Nothing could withstand her onset, and the billows of attack against her person were broken as by a solid rock. Some described her as wielding a flaming battle axe and hurling missiles of burning sulfur. They might well be deceived. The quickness of her every motion was a counterfeit of the riving blade or blazing fireball. Some assert that, in her frenzy, she tore with her teeth and even devoured the reeking flesh until her stomach rose in rebellion. Such a notion seems incompatible with the violence of her disgust for the reptilian blood that besmeared her from soul to crown. Pau-o-palai, using her magical pau as a besom of destruction, was transformed into a veritable Bellona, and Wahine-o-ma'o displayed the courage of an Amazon. These both escaped serious injury. The unhappy fate of Papula, who realized that girl's premonition. She fell into the hands of the enemy, and as if to fulfill the prediction of Pele, became food for the gods of Panaewa. As Hiiaka glanced heavenward, she saw the zenith filled with cloud forms, Cain, Kanaloa, Kamohoali, Pohakau, and others, encouraging her with their looks. The sight, while it cheered, wrung from her a fervent prayer. Kuai-he-lani, Na-maka-o-ka-ha'i, Hikaukau, aloha kea ia oi. Ia oi no i. Translation: yon group of God forms that float and sail with the clouds heaven high, mustered and led by Pohakau. This prayer is a love call to you. Our sister is in trouble, said